All right, we have all of the heat radiant material up and the furring strips up. And again, those are just 1/4 inch plywood ripped down to 2-inch widths going around. And then when we get up here, this where you can see the brown, those are both flex curved panels. And typically what I found is paneling breaks when you put up in there. So I had a little bit of flexible subfloor that go on top of plywood and just to level out floors. I put that down, and the plan is to take some adhesive spray that, and put some vinyl decorative material on that as accents, and then in the middle will be paneling again. So that'll be covered up, but that saves the hassle of trying to mold some panel that's really not going to work. We've tried that before, and it tends to break. The other thing I wanted to point out is before we do the paneling and you get really into construction, remember we were putting the metal plate down here next to that plug where the plug is for the outside, but we also came in here and put a test light in because you want to test your electricity before you put the paneling up, before you put the vinyl ceiling in, because it's just a pain in the butt to have to take that stuff back down if it's not working. So check all your electrical, check your outlets, make sure you've got power to them, make sure your switches all work, and we're going to take a break for tonight and be back. But so far we've made pretty good progress. For those of you who are wondering, because we're shooting this in segments, it's been about 2.5 days worth of work so far just to get this far. And again, it's just a one-person job doing it. If you had help, it would probably go faster, be a heck of a lot easier. All right, for the bends in the trailer, we put up alligator. It's a vinyl alligator. You can get it at Walmart. I think it was about $15 for 1.5 yards of it. And what we did is, in the nose of the trailer, put it in each of the corners so that it would bend and come across here. In between will be paneling on the straight lines, but on the back here, it's all alligator. And we just sprayed it on with spray adhesive. This is rubber vinyl adhesive spray. It's good for headliners in cars, specifically meant for rubber and vinyl. So glue that on heavily. Do not be stingy with this stuff because you don't want to get air bubbles on it. And then when you put it up, fold the panel in half so that you have both edges on the same side. Put it in the middle and do half at a time. That way you can run your hand right down the middle of it, push all the air bubbles to the side on both sides. And then the other thing that I will tell you I did just to give it a nicer finish was gave it an extra about 1/4 inch up here so they could tuck in. Remember we put the board behind this and just left a little bit of a hairline gap so we could tuck that back in here and it would give it a finished look. Same thing down here at the carpet. So there's about 1/4 inch tucked underneath there. So we don't have to put trim at the top or the bottom of these pieces. The other thing that we did was came past our board by about 1/2 inch here on this side and about 2 inches on this side. The reason I did that was for the panel to come in. So the panel will sit, just as a demonstration piece here, and there's a little lip here. You can see that it'll push up against that, and it'll give you a finished look with the panel. And if we need to do anything, we'll take a little like 1/2 inch piece, wrap it in some of the extra alligator vinyl, and trim that out if we have to. But it should end up being flush enough that we don't need to do that. So wanted to share that with you. This is what I use to tuck the top and the bottom in under the trim. I would not use a metal one. The vinyl rips very, very easily, and the plastic is thin enough that it can get in there and you can push it. You can also use these rounded edges here to kind of help edge it in without breaking or cutting your vinyl. You don't want to score it after all that work of putting it up there. The other thing I would say is if you're using a patterned one like this, you can see right along here is a pattern, and then down here. Make sure you measure that. Make sure it looks the same on the other side. People will notice that if you're using accent pieces like that, make sure it looks good and uniform. All right, so with that, we're going to start with the paneling next. We still don't have the ceiling vinyl in yet, so we won't be doing the top row of paneling until that comes in. That way we can tuck the vinyl in underneath the paneling again to give it that finished look. All right, so we put one piece of paneling in so far. And I just wanted to point this out to you here, where I use these screws to hold it in. There's a couple on the top and a couple on the bottom. I've also glued to these furring strips with liquid nail construction glue so that it stays tight in the center. But I wanted to point this out, that I use the same kind of screw here as I did in the furring strips. And the reason for that is there's metal posts that go through here for support on the outside rail. This screw goes through the furring strip into that, so that this plywood is solidly attached to the trailers, not just attached to a little piece of furring strip here. Some people, if they were doing this in residential construction, would use finishing nails to attach this to a 2x4. Because we're going to vibrate a lot as we travel down the road, didn't want to do that. So I did that. Also put in the first outlet there with the cover on it, so that outlet's done. Still need to cut around for those. Of course, can't do that until we get the vinyl in, which hopefully will arrive in the next 2 or 3 days. And so we're just going to do the bottom row of plywood now, and we'll dry fit everything on the top so that when it does come together, it'll go a little bit faster.